But there are two preparations. One preparation is an ethical preparation, to prepare ourselves to fix our various ethical behaviors. There's chesed. How is our kindness doing? There's gevura. Are we able to be strong about the important issues and values, principles for which we stand? Tiferes, do we develop a splendor about us? A hod, a glory? Do we have a sense of majesty of who we are? We're the children of the King of Kings. Do we have a sense of majesty? And so on, each day to be able to prepare ourselves. The rabbis say, if we look in Pirkei Avot, we know what the 49 steps are. Because after all, it says that the Torah nikneit arba'im b'shmona drachim, the Torah can be acquired, says the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot at the end of the Avot, that it can be acquired with 48 things. You have to learn how to listen, how to hear, dibur chaver, we have to have good friends, and all kinds of methods. 48 steps. Look there in Pirkei Avot for the 48 steps to take to receive the Torah. So that explains, we have the 49 days and we have the 48 steps. Of course, there's a missing step, isn't there? Why does the Mishnah say there are only 48 days, 48 ways in which to acquire the Torah, and yet there are 49 days? There's one extra day. What's that extra day for? So I saw in the Beis Yisrael. The Beis Yisrael was one of the early Gerer Rebbes. Beis Yisrael lived in around the 1950s or so. And there in the Beis Yisrael, he says an interesting thought. Also saw this in the Rebbe of Slonim. He says that, Avraham, in order to get to climb the ladder of the 10 trials of Abraham, to climb his ethical ladder, he needed to have passed these 10 tests. And the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot that v'amad bekulam, he stood in all of them. How did he stand in all of them? What do you mean he stood in all of them? Maybe he withstood, but what does it mean that he stood? So the Gemara says in Brachos that ein amida el tefillah, that you stand. You know how you stand? You know how a Jew is able to stand up and make it through the day? Ein amida el tefillah. We stand tall because we have prayer. The 49th step, if you want to get through that extra test, is to make a prayer. We can do all the ethical cleansing we want. We can do all the ethical training. We can work on ourselves and our midot, our ethical behavior and practices. But the final step is to make a prayer and say, God, help me get to that next step. You can be so close, and yet you can really be so far, unless you make that extra prayer, that extra effort to go and be prepared, to be ready to receive the Torah. This Beis Yisrael, this Gerer Rebbe says that this Shabbos before Shavuos, and Bemidbar usually falls right before Shavuos, this Shabbos is a special Shabbos of hachana, of preparation. And how do we know that Shabbos is a good way to get prepared for receiving the Torah? Well, firstly, everyone agrees that the Torah was given on Shabbos. So that's a very important principle established in the Gemara in Shabbos. And we know that before the Jews received the Torah, they learned about Shabbos at Mara, at that place of bitter waters. Why? Because in order to receive the Torah, they had to try out a Shabbos first. Shabbos helps us be that vessel that prepares, is ready to receive the Torah. After all, on Shabbos we go out to greet the bride. And that's what happened at Sinai. The Jews, Vayotzei Moshe et ha'am likrat Elokim, God took the people out to be ready. Like Rashi says, Kechasan likras kala, like a groom comes out to greet the bride. If on Shabbos we go out to greet the bride, we're getting ready. We're getting ready to receive the bride at the real nuptials, at the real wedding of the God and the Jewish people on Shavuos. This Shabbos of Bemidbar is a good time to get ready, to be prepared, to be a proper vessel to receive the Torah. The Beis Yisrael also says that if you look in these miros, the songs we sing on Friday night, there's a long song called Makadei Shavi. It's an old European song people like to sing. Called Makadei Shavi Karoi Lo. Anyone who observes Shabbos in the proper way, Ish al machaneo ve'ish al diglo. The idea is that when you're observing Shabbos, the idea is for each person to be in his place. You sit at your table with your family, hopefully, God willing, and there you're like the Jews at Sinai, sitting at their place. What's the concept? The concept is, says the Beis Yisrael, that at Sinai, no one went beyond their limits. At the encampments around the tabernacle, everyone stood on their flag, not someone else's. Sometimes we try to be more than we can be, and it doesn't work. Sometimes we don't strive to be what we can be, and that doesn't work either. The idea of the preparations of the Parashat Bemidbar, and by extension the preparations before Shavuot, is to be yourself. Now, what is yourself? The Rebbe of Slonim says that of course every Jew has his own place. Just like each tribe has its own place, and some in the north, some in the south, surrounding the Mishkan, the tabernacle. So too every Jew has their place. But how do I know? How do I know what my special role is? Who says I have a special role? What's so special about me? And the answer is, says the Rebbe of Slonim, that whatever you find most challenging in life, there's got to be something it's your challenge, your problem. Not everyone is gifted in every area. There is some area that you have a particular challenge. That is your degel. That's your flag. That's your place among the Jewish people, to solve that problem as only you can, because that's your problem, your challenge, your nisayon, your test. We pray, we do the work we can to be the Jew that you can be. And the Rebbe of Slonim says also to appreciate, says in the Sivo Shalom over here, to appreciate that you are a Jew, to know your place around the camp of Israel. That also is the notion of being prepared to be at Sinai to receive the Torah, is knowing who we are, that we have a place around that camp, that we matter. God needs us, each one of us, to solve our personal challenges. That will make us a real camp. So we've said that it's important for each Jew to be there at Sinai, to know who he is. But there's also another idea, that derech eretz kadma laTorah, that in order to receive the Torah, we need to be in a camp. And when you're in camp, there could be a lot of fighting and bickering between bunks, between bunk mates, between those with your flag and those in other flags. But when the Jews are able to stand as they did at Sinai, ke'ish echad, belev echad, with one heart, with like one people, when they're able to have that derech eretz, that proper conduct, one between one and the other. Not like Rabbi Akiva's students who perished during this time, who couldn't make it through this time. But if we can go beyond that, we can prepare ourselves to be united as Jews, as friends, as neighbors. This also is a preparation for Sinai. But the rabbis say that, when the Jews first came to Mount Sinai, it's true there were 3 days of preparations, but all 6 days they had when they came to Sinai, on the first day of Sivan, the first day of the third month, and then they only got the Torah on the 6th or 7th day of the month. So there are really 6 days of preparation. What did they do on the first day? So, the Gemara in Shabbos says, Yom HaKama lo amrav lo midi. The first day, God didn't tell them anything. After all, mishum chulsha de'urcha, they were very tired. They had just gotten there to Sinai. They said, today, just got here. Let's rest, settle in. Nothing to tell you today. Tomorrow we'll talk about how you're a holy people and your mission. But today we're just going to rest. Didn't tell them anything. So the Rebbe of Slonim says, well, what do you do on a day when he didn't say anything that day? So he says, you know what you need that day for? That day is for Yishuv Hadas. That day is just to take a deep breath, relax, and start to begin to think, to begin to find the space to think about how we want to be more united, how we want to play our role as Jews, how we want to be ourselves, to remember that we are in this camp, we are part of the Jewish people. We are God's children, the King's children. This is all part of our preparation.